there is a beauty in using your local vendors as well, because that's, marketing on my end, talking about him and her, and that's marketing on their end, talking about, yeah, I just did this huge, t-shirt order for this real estate company, and you guys need to go check them out because they're so crazy. They're actually giving these t-shirts away for free. And it was almost, that marketing, that local, you can't pay for, that kind of word of mouth.
Hello and welcome to /Real Estate, the podcast for the tech-enabled agent. And I know I say this every time, but I'm particularly excited about this guest because it kind of completes a trifecta for us. We interview the team over at NORCHAR Real Estate. I don't know. I feel like frequently. Craig is a regular, and now Nora. If you follow us on Instagram, then you'll know Nora. If you don't follow us on Instagram, then you need to fix that. So please go do that. But now we got the third member of the team. And Ann, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm a part owner of NORCHAR with Craig. He is my husband. We started this brand probably about 12 years ago. And it was a point in our lives where we were trying to decide what we were going to do next. And we decided we wanted to own our business. Craig has been in new construction sales for a very, very long time. And I felt like the next evolution for us was real estate sales, to get into home sales and see, what we could do in that market. And we started the brand NORCHAR thinking it was going to be just the two of us. I actually have a real estate license. Believe it or not, I've had it for 12 years. And I was actually going to be a realtor and I was going to sell with him. But we started this brand, NORCHAR, and Craig has such a great reputation in our market. People, other realtors like, well, can I hang my license with you? Can I be part of NORCHAR? And being new at this, we had no idea what this meant. So it was like, okay, hang on, we're going to do something about this. Yeah, we definitely want to have people, with us to start a company. But that involved starting a brand and building something that we necessarily did not think of just for the two of us going forward into this. But all of a sudden, like, okay, we have people with us that expect, a logo, expect colors, expect a certain look, and, merchandising and marketing, which is huge in real estate. So I had to take that brain set of like, okay, realtor, maybe not. I'm going to be the person in the background doing more of the branding and merchandising and let the people who are really good at, selling homes do that part. I was unknown and that total novice in that arena. So I was like, okay, you guys go forward with that. I'm going to slip in the back end and figure out merchandising. And also, my familiarity of the Real Geeks was that I was going to be the CRM person as well, tying that in. I was going to manage all the online leads. I was going to help the agents entering their business into the CRM and how to utilize the CRM to the best of, their ability, our ability to gain business and to gain momentum and get a big audience. So that was that's where my part evolved into. So that's why I'm back here.
The whole behind the scenes, we're gonna learn a lot today. In particular, we wanted to talk to you about that brand building and like kind of creating that whole world, because you guys have done a particularly good job. Like, you always have consistent colors, the logos are always great. It seems like there was a lot of intention that went into the actual branding before we even get to, like kind of the merch you were talking about, all the giveaways and freebies and stuff that like help you kind of spread your brand. And so maybe as we get started, can you talk about, right at the beginning, you said, okay, we're starting this, like we need a brand. Like, where did you start?
Just knowing that this brand was going to be such a tangible and huge part of, our lives as well, because, we are, this is our family brand, this is our family business. So we weren't going to take any shortcuts. So we spent a long time, trying to figure out what it was going to look like and what the colors were going to look like. And in our market, we wanted to make sure that we were unique. We did not see a twin to anything that we were doing, or even in competing markets. Because at that point, when you're, starting a brand, you're like, well, we're going to go national. We're going to do all this stuff. So it's very detailed, even down to our name, NORCHAR. NORCHAR Real Estate is, it's kind of unknown, but we actually named the brokerage after our two daughters, Nora and Charlotte. And it was just that because of like, who do you love, the most? What do your heart is your children. So we pulled those two names together into the brand right there. And we just wanted that, you know, family-esque feeling when you came and worked for us or when you bought and sold with us because at our heart that's who we are, and we wanted to have we have a heart in our brand, and that is the heart of the home kind of saying. That's where I wrote it in here, but it's just like how we felt about real estate to us isn't transactional. It's so emotional, and I wanted our brand to show that. And the green just kinda came organically. We've always loved green, and I think the color we have, this particular green is not something I see regularly out in, marketing.
How intentional was the like, I really like this idea of thinking through, what are the other businesses that are around me? What are their names? Like, was this like, this is a dining room conversation, or were you like, did you have like a vision board where you like put all your competitors on there and you're like, okay, well, they're all named, whatever, some name real estate. And so we need to stand out. Like how intentional and how like long was that process of thinking it out? Or did it all kind of come together really fast?
I think it came together relatively quick in that we wanted to be unique in a marketplace where, people are building all of these brands and they're building like
Mhm.
all these businesses. And real estate can be a little hard where you have so many teams with team names sitting underneath a brokerage brand and what have you. So we wanted to keep it very intentional. We knew we wanted to stand out. We are very aware of, well, our today, even having snow, we are always intentional thinking, okay, I'm going to put this sign in front of a house. A consumer or someone, a neighbor is going to drive by. Are they going to be able to see my sign in miles of snow? Are they going to be able to see my sign in the fall? Are they going to see my sign in the winter? So all of those things, being where I am in this part of the country is was always going through our head of just making sure I had a color that popped in the white snow. I had a color that popped in the summer, and just did its thing. So it was very intentional thinking of environment, competition, and just what people liked. I knew people always like green. I feel like even like I think Starbucks, their color is
So,
green.
okay, so I like this idea that you were being intentional about even like a color theory, right? Was that like, did you have a background in that, or was that just like, you'd done some reading, or was it sort of like gut instinct? Like, how did you arrive at that, that kind of piece of knowledge that I guess has turned out to be true?
Right. I think it's just who you feel. It's just what you like. I knew building a brand, I was going to have to, live with that. People can come and go and you're like, what have you, but I was putting my name on it. I was putting all my chips on NORCHAR. So that was something that I, stood behind, and I knew I had to stand behind what I picked at that point.
It's so interesting hearing the story because I think I hear a lot of agents, a lot of team leaders talk about, trying to build authenticity into their brand, but it's almost like they're trying to do that after the fact, where the way that you guys went about it, it was more like, how do we make this brand represent us from day one? So
Right.
maybe you've never thought about like that struggle that some brands have?
I knew building, this business is obviously it's very daunting to make a name for yourself in a very crowded field. Real estate is, and you have to, it's built on, connections with other realtors and brokerages, and it's connections also to get clients and customers. So we knew we had to get that rolling quick because not only, are you dependent, you have to, pay your bills and you have to eat. So this decision to, build that brand, we had to do it, and we had to do intentional. We had to do it quick and stand behind it so we can move on to the other phases of what we had to do, which is work.
Yes, it is, right? Because you can write all the documents you want or have all the intentions about what you want your brand to represent. But, one of the things I like to remind people of is the brand does not live in your head. It lives in the heads of the people that experience it. So let's talk about the work. Great segue. Like, all right, you've built the brand, you've kind of decided, I guess, on a logo. It's all very centralized around who you guys are. What was that next step? You're starting out. What do you
Right.
start to build?
We started figuring out how to get our name out there in the community. Relatively new brand. Obviously, you're posting on social media constantly, talking to people constantly. If someone invited me somewhere, you bet I was going because I was going there to tell them about my brand and who I was and what I was doing for my life. But I was also showing up in my community, being a member of a community and helping people. And I think that's where genuine connections happen, and that's where you start talking to people. And in part of that is showing up pretty intentionally wearing my brand as well, because that's one of those things people ask questions about. I think when I first started this company, I wore my brand probably exclusively for almost 2 years. Like, if you saw me, I was wearing something that said NORCHAR
Yeah.
because I was like, you get that hustle and you just start working it. And I think it just became so intentional, instinctual to get yourself out there and get yourself known for that, and also to bring the smile and to bring the friendliness and everything you want your label and your brand to evolve into and to feel. I mean, there's so much in, real estate that is, you know, transactional, and sometimes you put on that hat where you're, not a real person, you feel like, and then you're like, but this always grounded me. What I was building grounded me, and I understood going forward wearing that I represented what I was building, if that makes sense. How I acted with people, how I, did things out in public. If I'm wearing a North hoodie, you bet your bottom dollar when I'm at the grocery store, I'm putting my cart back in the corral, and everything else that you're doing is very systemized to, to that. It is who I am as well. But I also knew that I didn't want to bring any negativity to my brand per se.
I want to drill into this because this is actually something that, I like to talk to marketers about, where it's like the way that you kind of show up in the world shapes the way that people will perceive you. And we were all using these signaling mechanisms to, say, hey, this is what I'm about, whether it's intentional or unintentional. And you can obviously make it very intentional. So, when you're thinking through like, okay, I'm going to wear my brand, but it's still got to fit me,
Mhm.
like what was like on the shopping list of like, I'm shaping this brand, I need to rep it. Like,
Right.
what goes in the shopping cart?
Okay, what went in the shopping cart initially? Because when you're starting something, you don't have a lot of money to
Zero
spend.
dollars.
$0. So it was a lot of YouTubing of how to do a lot of like, I felt like I'm not an artistic person, but I call myself a crafty person. How's that? If
There
you
we
can
go.
see
I like
the
it.
difference. I'm
Yeah.
crafty. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could be dangerous in that arena. So I was watching videos on actually what I had around me. I had, obviously big box stores. I can go in, get a bunch of white t-shirts, and I could actually do something called screen printing.
Mhm.
So I actually set up in my house a homemade screen printing system. So I had I bought frames. I wasn't that crafty. I could make my own custom frame. I did order that from a site online, but I bought the paint, I bought the squeegees, and I bought a heat gun, and I was like old school. My kids were helping me as well. So I did have one of these. This is like old school Norshar, one of the t-shirts that I hand painted and made with this thing. You can see, everything about it, back and front
That
and
is
back.
awesome.
And it
Yeah.
has, the paint, what have
So
you.
were you watching YouTube videos to figure out how to do this, or did you have previous experience
No,
doing it?
none, Chris. I had no previous experience. I was watching YouTube videos, and I was doing all this, late at night, trying to figure this all out because I didn't want to embarrass myself or embarrass any of these amazing people who, are taking a chance on us at
Yeah.
Northshire. We wanted to be in, put out something that we were all proud of. So it was a lot of like, trial and error. I probably kept some of my errors. I didn't bring them to show you today in my show and tell, but it was a lot of tears in it, and, you wanted people to be proud of things that you bring to the table and put on. I did not wanna embarrass anyone, but, have a lot of money in the beginning. I was very scrappy and crafty.
I think sometimes it's like in retrospect, the errors and the missteps, like you kind of feel proud of because it's like, oh
Oh,
yeah, that was the springboard that got me here.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we were such a young company, like, we literally started in our garage. Like, all of this our real estate company started in our garage, and all of this, like, craziness, and I think there's a lot of beauty and a lot of crazy ideas that come out of stuff like that, because it's like, you are kind of throwing things at the wall, but you have to be more intentional when you do it because you don't know if you're gonna get another chance kind of feeling. So, it was like, I had this much money to spend on T-shirts. I allocated this much money to spend on my screen printing stuff, so this had to work. I had no choice. I had to run with it. And I did. I think we did pretty well with it. We started, with the T-shirts. I got the T-shirts on myself. I put them on my kids. If my kids' friends wanted them, you bet they were wearing the T-shirts as well, and when we
Love it.
start and realtors, the realtors were like, "Yeah, you guys have T-shirts? I totally want one of your T-shirts. I'll wear that T-shirt everywhere," and they actually were wearing these T-shirts everywhere, which I love. And that also got us out in the community wearing these T-shirts. If there was, anything that, NorChar could, volunteer at or show up for or do, we showed up as, this young scrappy team of realtors wearing my homemade T-shirts, doing something to help the community. And that was I can't even tell you how amazing, those days right there were hard work, but well worth it. That really pushed the envelope of, what we can do today.
Well, and it's almost like straight out of, there was, I think it's like duct tape marketing or guerrilla
Mhm.
marketing. There was a couple of books, I don't know, 10 years ago that were kind of talking about this. It's almost like play by play, how you do this,
Yeah.
So it's like you screen print your own t-shirts and then
Yep.
you go to as many volunteer events as you can
Yep.
to, show up wearing them, being your own billboard,
Yeah.
representing your own
Yeah.
brand. That's
Yeah.
absolutely awesome.
And I loved it. I mean, real estate is not like a profession where anyone has a uniform, right? We're all like, lot all independent contractors. You show up for, your clients and you hope that, you show up well and what have you. But in oddly, in those days, I was able to create a uniform for my real estate brokerage that we all wore and showed up all over town. In doing so, people noticed us because we were at all these volunteer events and we all matched wearing all this, stuff. And I was very free about, yeah, I made that too.
How did you know that people were noticing? Like, were you seeing like Google like searches come in, or were you getting phone calls, or like,
I
side
would,
comments? Like that's
yeah,
one of those things where people always wonder, well, how do I know it's working? And I'm like, well,
yeah,
in the beginning, it kind of feels like a vibe,
yeah.
but like, what was it like for you?
I think it was like when people said, you guys are everywhere. The
That's
first time
awesome.
someone
Yeah.
said to me, "You guys are everywhere," and I was like, "Oh my god." I feel like I'm not. I feel like I'm like and sometimes you're in your head and you wonder, "Are you doing enough? Am I showing up enough?" And then the first time someone's just like, "Gosh, you're working hard. You're everywhere." And I felt like, was it everywhere because the way Craig and I built our brand with which very consistent? Did they see like a real estate sign on one side of town and then you see it on the other side of town, but they're both the same, brands. So it looked like I'm here and I'm here and I'm everywhere. And then I have someone wearing, a t-shirt in like my kid's high school. And then I have another someone else wearing the kid's t-shirt in the primary school, and like, in different towns because I would provide free swag and free
Mhm.
t-shirts to everybody because it was just at that you were hustling, you're out there and you still should and get your name out there. So that was the first time someone goes, "You are everywhere." I was like, "That's amazing."
So was that comment of like, "Hey, wow, you guys are everywhere." Like, were you guys still in that like 0 to 1 phase, or were you starting to hear that like as deals are starting to roll and you're starting to feel
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, okay, we're like the sales are filling up here."
I felt like both because I have the privilege of being as a co-owner knowing where the sales are coming as well. I wasn't just a pure marketing person. And it when you start a brokerage, I was wearing every hat, marketing, CRM. The only thing I did not do is sell the houses. I didn't put myself in that arena. I know that wasn't know your abilities and your
Yeah.
strong suits. That wasn't for me. Luckily, we started bringing on people, so I didn't have to. But, yes, when we start hearing all that stuff and I see the sales and I see um, the people telling me you're everywhere and noticing our brand and having conversations about it and saying, "Hey, I was talking to so and so about, that you guys were, selling a house over here. And, I know someone who was going to list their house." And it was just like all that stuff, those conversations started popping up more and more often. And it was amazing. And I don't know, necessarily if it was, swag or our merch. I think it was just being strong in our branding as well. I never wanted someone to put something in front of their house or put something on their body that was like silly or embarrassing, because we always take that into consideration. Would I want a sign that looked like this in front of my house? Would I want to put like if this something on my body that looked like, silly or I don't want to wear? Very intentional. Everything that goes out, is approved by myself that this is something that I can definitely stand behind.
Well, maybe drilling into that, like, were you letting people do their own thing, like, with your brand? Like, "Oh, I've got this shirt, I wanna get it embroidered," or was it, like, everything coming through you of, like, kind of classic marketing manager, like, "No, no, no, I own the brand, and you must get my
Yeah.
approval before you do XYZ."
Yeah. I'm very I think I'm looser with it now than I was because I was very conscious in the beginning. I did not want to see my brand per se on a red background.
Ah,
I didn't
yes.
want someone to embroider. I did have rules. I 100% say, "Hey, I can't be everything for everyone. So if you have a shirt you'd like to get embroidery on, or if you want to screen print something, but also with our colors that
Yep,
makes sense per se." I don't think it's helps anyone's brand to take something that is so uniquely, in our case, green and white, and take that and put it on a red background. But,
yep.
in the beginning, I was very like, "Don't." No one does it, but at that point, I was just like,
I
"Hey,
was gonna
just in
ask, like,
case."
did that ever come up? Or,
In a few cases, I think,
yeah.
we were trying to push so fast, so hard
Mhm.
that there were at times where, I I wasn't like, "Oh, maybe." Maybe, but it all worked out in the end. Um, because you always have so many personalities and so many ways there's only so much you can control. How's that?
Right, yeah.
And there's some things that, you just have to let go and let people do what they're going to do. But in the end, it all worked out.
What were some of the things that you were like, "Well, maybe I wouldn't have done that, but, I can see why this is gonna work out," or, "It's not worth
Right.
the battle." Like,
Right.
do any of those come to mind?
I think for us, maybe it was a little bit of marketing.
Mhm.
Um, Not everyone knew in the beginning. Our name isn't intentionally, it's Norchar, and it's all capitalized. Every letter's capitalized. And I don't know if I did a great job explaining that to everyone initially. So I would see a lot of things with big N, little O, little R, all everything. And I was like, no, that's not us. That's not us. And then just Norchar Realty instead of Norchar Real Estate. So those things in the beginning, I was like, "Hey, it's this or it's this," and trying to control all that.
It's so funny because that's stuff that's like, that story could come straight out of, like, a $50 million, business.
Right.
Like, marketing department talks about that kinda
Yeah.
stuff. But,
Yeah.
yeah, like, I like what you're saying here of, like, that's not us, and back to
Mhm.
the brand fully representing, who you are. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like that when you say that's not us, there's a lot more, like, emotional resonance than just like, "Well, that's
Sure.
just not our topography."
Absolutely, absolutely, and we're always very conscious as well is when something is posted online, it affects the entire brokerage per se, and it affects like all of us. So the same thing where you guys were everywhere, that reflected very well on a brand new agent who had never sold anything. At that point, they're like, "You guys have so many listings everywhere. You guys have so many houses for sale." They had never had anything, but because our brand was so consistent, it looked like this person was doing work in every single town and showed up everywhere, which was something that was intentional that, as owners of the brokerage, we're very proud
Yeah.
of. And I think in that way, in my head, I was trying to protect that for people as well. Everything that, you do reflects on the other people around you.
Well, just to also paint the picture for people, were you guys doing online lead generation right in the beginning? Or like, because we're really focusing this conversation
Mhm.
on kind of like the real world
Yep.
physical, side of the business or of the brand. But were you doing the online stuff at the same time? Like, where did Real Geeks enter this startup equation?
Real Geeks came right from the beginning. We've been aligned with Real Geeks right from the get-go. Um, yeah, we were definitely, generating out there, generating our own business and bringing our leads and buying leads and getting leads through the CRM and what have you. So that was a huge, obviously an amazing tool that still is, a workhorse in our brokerage, the CRM in Real Geeks.
One of the things that I hear a lot from real estate agents is or team leaders, they're like, well, my style of marketing is referrals, or it's like sphere, or it's walk and knocking.
Yeah.
it sounds like you guys had a much more like holistic marketing plan where you're like, I'm going to attack all these channels all at once,
Right.
and you were able to pull that off.
I love a referral business, and I don't in those days when we were young and scrappy, we weren't getting a lot of referrals because
Yeah.
we were unknown. And I think that obviously being in this business for as long as I have, I realize I can see this, the levels of agents and realtors. I know who has referral business, and it's a given this person's all referral business with, something what have you. And the newer people are going to be heavily relying on a business with pay per clicks or what have you, or any kind of outsourced lead generation. Um, in the beginning, we had some referral business. We didn't have a lot though because we were so new. Like, hey, we got a lot of listings because people are like, you guys are out there, you're killing it. But a lot of our business was coming from lead gen through the CRMs and pay per clicks and what have you.
So you're working all the angles all at once. You're
Oh
you're
yeah.
doing the online thing, you're doing the lead gen thing, you're
Yep.
out in the community doing the volunteer event, trying to get your
Hmm.
brand out there,
Hmm.
and presumably, like, these things are starting to work together. So, okay, let's I'm curious to, like, go back to, like, okay, so, you've got the brand, you're starting to get some momentum under you. Like, you've talked about, like, sort of like the merch and the merchandising and like kind of
Hmm.
some of the fun stuff. I think in one of our episodes there was like a wall of boxes behind
Oh yeah.
Craig, so start to talk us through like these things are starting to become more established now.
Oh yeah.
Like what's the system look like?
All right. So I want to give a shout out too is our building where we are, where our office is located. And we're actually a pretty iconic street in Rochester on Park Avenue. Our house that our office out of is like a really pretty building in our city, and we take full advantage of that. And we use that because it's very recognizable to people in our area. We were very lucky to have the opportunity to buy this building and to turn it into our office. And we definitely use that in our marketing. And it's very local. And it's also an avenue that used to have previous to COVID a giant art festival every year. And
Mm.
this art festival would have over 2 days about 250,000 people walk by, and that walkability of where we are and the exposure of what we are actually helped grow our business as well. And that tied into my marketing because at this art festival, I was able to set up a stand in front of my building. And Craig and I committed into designing a t shirt of our logo, with our logo and our building. And we gave away in 2 days 1,000 t shirts for free, just for people walking by. And I actually have one right here. And that right there was like part of that hustle of just like getting your name, getting your brand out there and trying to be, in the community. So the summer arts, and that's actually our building that I'm in right now.
Oh,
To
that
our
is so
magazine.
good because so for people listening to this on audio, like it looks like
Yeah,
a t-shirt that the art festival would produce and it's got
1
your
billion
logo
percent.
very prominently on the building.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then on the back, so I don't want people to forget that I'm a real estate person. We'll put that right on there too. Best real estate ever. Ask me about NORCHAR.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So that was part of, our guerrilla marketing in the beginning
The
was
front is subtle, the back is not.
taking advantage of where, that's a good marketing. It's a good business plan right there. Take advantage of where you are and use it to the best of your ability. And we knew at that point we had to, get the word out even further and reach more people and giving away a free t-shirt at an art festival.
So were you guys still, you know, like making your own t-shirts at that point? Or was this like a, okay, we're gonna go out to a
Yeah.
production house and we're gonna order 1,000 of these things,
Yeah.
you know?
I think with the graduation from our garage, we sold a few houses and were able to actually buy the building that I'm in now.
Yep.
I think our marketing and our merchandising got graduated as well. Part of it was actually talking to vendors in our area and getting exposed to people who are making these items and making these
Mm,
products. I would go to coffee shops and work in coffee shops before the office, and you would notice in a coffee shop, they had their own merchandise, and so I'd pick it up and I'd look at it, and I'm not afraid because 'cause we're in sales asking a question like, "Hey, where do you guys get this stuff all made? Is this local? Is someone
right.
doing this?" And getting names. to do all this. So I bring these ideas home and I discuss them with Craig, my partner, and I go, hey, these guys are getting these t-shirts made here. I'm going to give these vendors a call. He lives in the next town over and they're turning out these shirts that are amazing. We don't have to do that any longer. I don't know if I want to do. I want a little more professional looking tee. And that's where this actually came from, was a vendor in our neighbor, not our neighborhood, in our town, was able to mass produce this t-shirt for me at a very reasonable cost so I could give away 1,000 of them.
This is different from, I think, the way that a lot of people would approach this, because they would, go to Google and they would type in, custom t-shirt, and they would get, the ad for whatever the
Mhm.
company is, that's
Right.
like probably the same 3 companies, and, kind of bid those guys against each other. So, I mean, did you look at the comparative costs versus like doing a national vendor that's maybe going to produce the shirt overseas versus looking at it locally? Or was that just like off the table from the beginning and you were
Mm,
going to do it locally?
yeah. No, I was going to use local at that. I was definitely using local, and I thought locally because that's, where my business was coming from.
Mhm.
And I wanted to, and there is a beauty in using your local vendors as well, because that's, marketing on my end, talking about him and her, and that's marketing on their end, talking about, yeah, I just did this huge, t-shirt order for this real estate company, and you guys need to go check them out because they're so crazy. They're actually giving these t-shirts away for free. And it was almost, that marketing, that local, you can't pay for, that kind of word of mouth. And to get someone, talking about you that I'm not, you know, I don't pay or I'm not doing something for it, they're just, people were really excited for you genuinely.
Yeah, the local economy kind of feeds on itself. That's
Nope.
that's
Yeah.
that's a really, really, really cool story.
Mhm.
Okay, so you did the art fair.
Yep.
You gave away 1,000 of those things. Were you
Yeah.
then seeing them out in the community? What
I
what was the
did.
like? What was the impact of that?
I did it 2 years in a row. It was so successful, I did another one. And, I did see someone. I do see people wearing my T-shirts. The first time was in Costco, and my kids I texted them, and I said to him, I go, "There's someone over there buying, Alaskan kip king crab legs wearing the NORCHAR T-shirt, so I'm gonna take a photo." My kid's like, "Don't don't even go near this person. Stop being creepy." And it was like, I couldn't help it. It was like I was like, first time, like, the Beatles hear their song on the radio. It was like, there are people out here wearing something that I made. I'm like, "I need to take a photo." So I
Did you
did
go
it.
talk to them?
No, I didn't go talk to him.
No.
I
Okay. You
was
just
told not to. That
okay.
would have been that would have been super cringe. So, not that me back there snapping photos, but yeah, I was told not to.
I would have a counter opinion that's like, go
Yeah,
talk to the person. People,
yeah,
I don't know. When I've had that happen, the reactions have been positive.
yeah,
So
I imagine so. My audience today was a 13-year-old who was like, "Don't."
no. So you're going to do 1,000 t-shirts for an art festival.
Mhm.
One of the questions that plagues everyone when they're hovering over that buy button is, what is the size distribution? So how do you, it's a very nuts and bolts question, but how do you deal with that?
We buy every single size and we lean heavier into the larger sizes just because I know that, even the smallest girl on the planet will probably still like an oversized t-shirt. The things in the beginning, I was ordering equal numbers of everything because I was just what you thought. I'm going to get, this size 100, 100, 100, 100. And then I had to look on the second day of the festival and I go, wow, I'm stuck with a lot of extra smalls and smalls. And I go, I can't in the mediums, I can't give these away because people are walking up to the booth and they're like, maybe. And then the next year, I was like, "Oh, okay." I saw what my clients were grabbing, and they were grabbing the extra larges and the larges. And you would just see, like a little kid grab like a large t-shirt. And I'm like, how do I get this kid to grab the small t-shirt that I actually probably purchased for them? But they didn't want to. They want the oversized. So I was very cognizant year two of oversized t-shirts, and that was, where I was going with it. I still provided a lot of mediums, smalls, extra smalls, but for that purpose, I did the bigger sizes. I will say when I do a company event and I order t-shirts for the agents, I ask everybody previous to order, what size can I get you? I'll send out an email, a Facebook post, I'll call, I'll text, and I'll get everybody's sizes. And if you are bringing another person to one of our events, what size do you think they will have? I cater to more to the little events that I'm doing, and I will definitely get people's particular sizes. But when I'm doing the mass stuff, I just send out to what have you. And also when I'm buying merchandise for our office, just like to have on hand those sweatshirts that I have and I was showing you. I buy a lot of t-shirts and actually I've graduated. I'm telling you, I've graduated from the screen printing. I actually own my own heat press now.
Ah.
So I do have a heat press and we do buy transfers. So we're able to produce all of this stuff in-house. And I will buy blanks of t-shirts and I will have a lot of t-shirts on hand and I have a lot of transfers on hand that I can make to spec to that person, which we're very lucky to have that heat press. We get very serious around here about our t-shirts and our merchandise. That as I learned from the YouTube videos, I wasn't gonna be screen printing a long time. I said, "Hey, we gotta step up our production here. This is crazy. This is crazy. We need a heat press." So that's what we are now, and changing up our colors a little bit now. Yeah.
What's the break point, do you think, between doing it yourself and going to, a local vendor or a national
Right.
vendor for like mass quote mass production? Like,
Right.
so if I'm saying to you, like, I need 100 of these, like, in
Yeah.
your mind, is that like, oh, I'll do it myself, or oh no, actually, it's better to send it out?
If I need 100, I'm gonna do that myself. I'm gonna buy the blanks, I'm gonna get the, transfers, and we're gonna do that in-house. If I'm going to make, like we did for the Park Ave Fest, 1,000 T-shirts, I'm gonna go to, my local vendor and have them do that. It's just easier, and, I won't, I'm
Give
not that,
yourself carpal tunnel.
I
Yeah.
can't you can't press 1,000 T-shirts. That's for the professionals. We can do 100 in-house. And even then, we're switching out people like, "Okay, it's your turn on the heat press."
Everyone
You
gets a
know?
quota.
Everybody gets quota, and when you build company culture and people don't mind it per se,
Right.
because we all are stepping up and doing something fun for a purpose. I will show you because in that place, we just printed out 100 of these T-shirts yesterday, and I kept one alive because tying into volunteering, tying into our community, one of the things here at NORCHAR is that we participate in the polar plunge every single year. And we can imagine how cold that is in Western New York. We freeze our tails off, but it's something that we're very proud to do every year, and we do raise as a team thousands of dollars for an amazing charity, Special Olympics, and we through our funds, kids can participate in Special Olympics. And to do this, we also are very cognizant of merchandising, so that back into that realm, and we like to have a team T-shirt. So this year, oddly enough, we have a T-shirt that we weirdly enough use chat. We've used AI for the first time ever to help us create a design. So we told AI what we wanted. We said we wanted something cold, polar bear, America, and fun. And so this is what, after some tinkering, what chat came out for us, AI. This crazy American polar bear with the American flag, our name. We always put the year on these T-shirts because, like we said, I think this is like our 11th year of doing it. And every year we have a T-shirt and we always put the year on it. So we're cognizant. But for us, this is the first time ever using AI to help us with the design.
Was this like a fun side project? Because so like that it's a fun design, but
Yeah,
like the
it's
thing that's
crazy.
popping off my my mind to begin with is like
Yeah,
that's very different from a lot of the other designs that you showed.
sure.
Like the rest of your designs are very much like
Yeah,
fit into a real small like brand standard,
yeah.
and so then you decided to do this like side project or fun thing, or was
Fun.
it like just fun? Yeah, okay, yeah,
Fun. We're always gonna be fun. Polar plunge in
yep.
itself is pretty crazy. We're doing something wild. We're jumping into Lake Ontario when it's frozen, and we just enjoy it. And it's just a time for us to have like a wild T-shirt with our branding on it.
Yep.
That's not every day. We're very aware of it. We buy all like this is not our color blue,
Yep.
but we went for like because we thought the Buffalo Bills. Let's get the T-shirt. This is our year.
So it's kind
Wasn't
of
our year.
purposefully a little bit away from the core just so it can be crazy.
100%
Yeah.
to be crazy. And we're crazy, we're fun like that, you wanna bring something to the table, sometimes that people are gonna look at it and be like, "Love it," or they might be a slightly bit uncomfortable putting it on, but we're all gonna have fun doing it.
It'll stick in their mind either way,
Oh,
either way.
absolutely.
So you did 2 years of the art show with your T-shirts. What else were you guys producing and pushing out into the world?
We were pushing out at that point, this I'm gonna show you my, favorite, sweatshirt. So I was getting ideas from coffee shops, and I was very lucky that I do a lot of traveling as well. So my inspiration for my, merchandise is not traditionally real estate. I'm going to look at something outside of real estate because I don't know necessarily I want to wear a real estate anything. So I'm like wearing something that looks a little artistic, a little less mass produced, but a little more niche. So I was noticing when I went out and I was looking at, per se, if I'm in coffee shops or breweries or distilleries or any kind of business, they were doing a lot of tone on tone um, printing. So they would have like per se like a gray sweatshirt with gray writing on it. And I thought that was like so cool. It was very subtle, didn't scream real estate, but it was just a really cool look. So I came back and I did one of these sweatshirts. So you can see it in this light, but far away, you're not really seeing it scream my logo. And for some, like, probably the same reason I liked it, everybody liked it. I couldn't keep these going. I couldn't get my guy to make them quick enough. Everybody wanted them at that point, and I was very happy with that because I had so many people who are like, "Oh my gosh, you're the ones who make that tonal, subtle sweatshirt. I want one." I was like, "Yeah, I want to give you one." So it was just like that inspiration that I saw out there, not necessarily real estate, but I could bring it to my real estate brokerage and make it something fun.
Really love that.
Mhm.
So, I mean, maybe let's dig into this a little bit because I like the idea that the design inspiration was not coming from, like a competitive analysis versus, what the other people are producing, but looking at, who's just making really
Cool
cool
stuff.
things and putting it out in the world. So
Yeah.
breweries, coffee shops,
Yeah.
basically anyone that's making I guess a lifestyle brand at that point.
Oh, absolutely. It was. I didn't want to. I did not want at any point to look like I copied anyone of real estate. I was very
Mm.
conscientious of that. I wanted to be very unique in what we were doing. I wanted people to know that everything we were doing was very organic and true to who we were. So I was taking that inspiration and trying to find it in other avenues and other businesses and how to bring it into my world because there was a coolness coming from all these cool things. There's coolness when you go to like a distillery or brewery. Their merchandising, people want to wear it. They buy it to wear it. Why? Sometimes you're thinking, why, you're just wearing that brand and you're paying to wear it. How do I get that kind of, call as well? And that's where in my brain would click. I got to do what the cool people or the cool guys are doing and make that kind of merchandise, and people are going to want it and they're going to pay me for these kind of things. I was like, "That's crazy." And that's where my brain started twisting. And then you also have to think, a little deeper because I was into T-shirts and I was into sweatshirts. I go, "But what about the whole family?" What if I can get I sell a house to someone and I can give them they're having a baby, and I can give them something for the baby to wear, and this is something that I know that my clients are going to take photos of and put all over their social media. And so you start changing your brainwave into thinking, all right, I'm not just clothing the adults, I'm going to start clothing those kids. So that was one of the things I came out of a coffee shop was that these onesies that they were making and that people were buying. I'm like, right here. So I'm like, oh, go home, get yourself an idea for a onesie. And this is one of those things. And I go, I have no idea. And I had
So
to look
again,
at
for
the
the
brand.
people listening to
Oh
this,
yeah.
that this is a like a infant onesie, and it says "NORCHAR Real Estate sold me my crib." It is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the same thing, and just being conscious of like, the branding and, where they source these little teas, because obviously you want them soft and
Yep.
cute that moms, are going to feel comfortable putting them on their babies. And so that was something right there that I'm like, oh, this is something that we can do and send to our people. When you notice on social, they're expanding their family because real estate people are always seeing those things on Facebook and Instagram and now TikTok. You're getting those signals of like, oh, Someone's expanding their family. Maybe they need a bigger house or something like that. You're always looking all that. I was looking at it as well, like, okay, how do we bring ourselves back in NorChar, back into the conversation? Just had a baby. We want to celebrate it as a brokerage with you. So that's where this idea came from, sending them one of these. And I would send them one of these, and if I'm gonna show you for your audio, in a packaging that we had created for that purpose. So this packaging, which is NorChar branded, I'd slap their address on it because, of course, I know their address. We sold them the
Yep.
house. This arrives kind of like a shock and awe moment for them because they're not expecting you. Throw a nice note in here and congratulations. Highly recommend, something like this always when you're selling homes.
Where did you get the package?
Oh, this package is from Sticker Mule. I think a
Okay.
lot of people are very familiar with Sticker Mule.
Yep.
Um, we'll probably talk more about that, but I'm a huge advocate of like um, Sticker Mule and other vendors doing the work up front, putting your logos in there because you always get an email that they have a deal and they're always doing some sort of special. One week it's a sticker and next week it's packaging, maybe it's a t-shirt. So I always have something like in the queue, in the line. So when they send me an email that they're having like, buy 50 packages for like 12 bucks. Boom, I already have a logo set to go in for that purpose.
Yeah, and that kind of ties in a little bit with a question I was going to ask, which is like how intentional were these thoughts? Were these like, hey, we should do like, infant like onesies, was that a like I wake up in the middle of the night and it's like moment of inspiration, or was it kind of like, okay, I know that people buy houses because they're growing families. How do we get our brand connected with that outcome? Like, was it intentional or was it like a moment of inspiration, or like, and how much time do you spend thinking about that versus like all the other competing things that
Right.
that exist in a growing business?
Yeah. I have a notebook. So you need to write it down because this business is fast and your ideas come fast. And you always are inspired. I'm always inspired by something that I see. Like I said, I love to travel. So when I see something, I'm very conscious of looking at it, looking at the label, looking at how I could fit it into my business. So I write it down. I take suggestions for things as well. I'm very open to, the people who do hang their license with our brokerage. What do you guys want to see? What do you want to wear? What do you think is exciting? What is our next idea for something fun that's actually something you would be really proud to wear and proud to hand out to people? So I'm taking inspiration and ideas from the people around me and the things I see out in the community. And always a heavy influence is just like your family as well. Like sometimes I had an idea and my kids were like, don't go. Nope, no one's gonna like it. And there are things that I think that are wonderful, and I'm like I get them produced and, like, no one likes it. I'm like, "What? Guys,
What's
that's
an example of that?
oh, not that it didn't go anywhere, but, weirdly enough, not really, New York State banned plastic bags.
Mhm.
So we are completely, dependent on bringing tote bags everywhere we
Yep.
go for any kind of shopping. So I thought if I had a bag, I'm holding up like a burlap kind of
Yep.
bag with one of our logos on it. If I provided this tote bag to our customers or clients and made it available to our people, our realtors, this thing I can't keep in stock because that's how like something that's so that we throw in our trunk that we just use every day would be
Yep.
so valuable. And for some reason, it really didn't go anywhere.
Okay, and, like, we need to hang out on this because, uh, that bag, so to describe it a little bit more for people listening to it, it's not like a generic
No,
cloth bag, like, the seams are, color-coded to match your logo, which is black on a burlap colored thing, so, like, the
right.
color scheme all kinda goes together really nicely, it looks, like, pretty high quality, but I really like the connection between, hey, something changed locally in, like, my local laws,
Hmm.
and, I can make it easy for people to both, like, rep my brand
Hmm.
and, comply with the thing.
Right.
So and I like that you're using a Real Geeks mug.
Oh,
That's also
yes.
awesome.
Thank you.
Yep.
I was intentional with that as well. I
Speaking
enjoy you
of,
guys.
awesome swag,
Right. Well, that's a hot point in itself. Obviously, you're giving something to someone and I didn't throw it out because I could see myself using it. That's another intentional, like, piece of item that is not going to end up in the junk drawer or end up thrown out or going to the garbage or Goodwill or what have you. When you have something of quality, people are more apt to use it, and you'll see it out in circulation.
So I want to come back to the packaging a little bit because you mentioned another thing that you kind of like glossed over as a small detail, but I think actually might be a big thing is, their address so you can send them stuff, right? So do
Mhm.
you have like a ship station in the back room where you're printing logos and stuffing bags? Like it sounds like a little bit of a like small
Yeah.
business, like e-commerce fulfillment type
Right.
situation you got going.
Right. Well, we definitely like to give on our clients. We don't have we do print our own labels, but you could just print them. We just print them on our regular printer. I
Mhm.
do print my postage labels. I do have, like you mentioned, you can see in one of my daughter Nora's Real Geek videos, we do have some green boxes that we hand out to people. I don't know if I have one handy, but we definitely like to love on our clients and send stuff out. And I wanted to make that a point to have materials for our agents to do that. We do have label paper to print out labels for shipping. We do have the bags, we do have the boxes. I do have assorted bags as well for that purpose in different sizes. So I'm holding up more of these plastic bags, and it's just intentional. Do I need it today? No. But when I see like one of those emails come through from a company that can mass produce stuff like this, I will buy this and have it on hand. So it's just not a situation like, hey, Ann, you guys have a bag for me to send this out? I like being the person like, yes, I got you covered. You can do all of this and send it all out.
So you've had a thought on like the possible things that you could want, and
Mhm.
then when it goes on sale, you snap it up.
Now,
Yep. And
packaging tape.
oh, that's
Packaging
awesome.
tape, like, I'm not even kidding, packaging tape, my agents ask for folders, like, "Can we have some folders for stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah, if I have it, I know it will get used, and it's not gonna be a thing." And that's the nice thing about being you're the owner of your company, you can just I don't have to ask anybody. If anyone
Right.
asks me, I just do it. I'll just create it, send it out, and have it in for them, and, that way we could just start using things. I'd rather in my company, people ask me to get something for them and then to like, "Ah, they don't provide anything or they're not
Right.
servicing me." Know that I will and I do.
I love all this. I love how you guys like really, to repeat something I said in the beginning, there's a lot of real estate brands that are searching for authenticity.
Mhm.
And it seems like you guys have built it into the brand and the corporate culture, the business culture, like
Mhm.
all right from the beginning. So it's not trying to like, you're not trying to reverse engineer into like a feel. It just naturally is.
Yeah. I think that's it. I mean, it just goes along with, who you are as a person. I mean, that's who you want to, surround yourself with. Um, it wasn't a situation where I had to bring on like biggest producers, the biggest real estate agents in town. And how do I offer, obviously, you are competitive. You need to be competitive. I'm not, ignorant of that part of the business. You do want great people and you do want to be competitive and do all the things to retain great people, and you can give someone probably, like, all the money in the world, but if you don't have a great company culture and a place where people, like, want to come and feel good about themselves and enjoy hanging out and being a part of, it's almost like, they're always gonna be looking for that exit, and I'm more about, let's be intentional, let's retain the great people that we have and give back to them because we want to keep this going and we all enjoy showing up every day and finding more ways to give on these people.
So you were saying that you produce awards for your annual conference. What was the thing
Okay,
here?
so every year we host our own NORCHAR Awards, and we like to recognize people in our brokerage who are just doing phenomenal, like loving on them, saying you had an amazing year, and we love to celebrate it. So we thought of like, how can we get a really cool award that feels like us, and we know it's something that the agents are always going to keep. And then we started looking around and we decided, oddly enough, like for us, for our culture, we were going to do like some sort of pottery like beer stein, and it felt fun. So we actually use a vendor called, I think it's Gray Fox Pottery, and they produce for us a bunch of these mugs. that we hand out. They produce, again, we found this idea from a coffee shop because I walked into a coffee shop, saw this brand, and started researching online, went to them, and I said, "Hey, I'm holding up a black mug right here. Can you produce for us a bunch of these mugs? And we actually use these as awards because we know they're fun and everyone's going to use it." Per se, I'm showing right now. This award goes to our rock star rookie. This is the person in their first year who's just bringing it, hit the ground running. We want to make sure we're celebrating their achievements from their first year in real
Mhm.
estate, and we call them the rock star rookie. We hand out a bunch of these. We hand out an award for most transactions, sales volume, team impact, helping hands, we call one for the person who's like just always in the brokerage, who always answers the questions, helps new agents, all kinds of good stuff. And then we do an award called the Big Kahuna. And this is just the overall agent in our brokerage who just really, brought it that year in sales and team participation and just like the epitome of what it is to be a great real estate agent that year. So we thought this would be something fun. No one throws them out, and it's very competitive to get these mugs.
So how much input did you give on to the like ceramic manufacturer on the design of this thing? Was that something that they already had pre-built? Because like I was thinking about your logo with the
Yeah.
heart in it,
Yep.
and the handle looks like half the heart.
Yeah.
Like, was
Right.
that all intentional?
They have on their website, when you go to the website, you can pick the handle, you could pick the size of the sign, you can pick the sheen, the color, everything. These are completely handmade in a kiln, so everything about this mug is unique. The one thing that is unique to us is that we did design the logos on here for them. And I don't know, I'm not the artist, I
Yep.
have no idea how they did it, but that's their business, not my business. That's why I have amazing artists to help me do something like this. Completely handmade, completely unique, and this is something you're only gonna get from us at NORCHAR per se. It's not a generic anything. This is pretty unique, and we're very proud of them. We have their that's one for Rockstar Rookie. They're all different, but when you see them in a line, they're all like brother and sister mugs. They all have a purpose, and they mesh.
Okay, so if you're just starting out and you're brand new into this, you don't want to go down the t-shirt route, where would you go?
Stickers. Stickers, obviously. Stickers are just like they're cheap and they're just this item that you can just hand out. And the people who like them get it, and the people who aren't going to like them, toss them. But it's not something you spend a lot of money on. And it's just, I don't know what it is. You could walk into like a place where everyone has their computers open. People have like 5, 6 stickers on their laptops these days. And if you can make a really cool sticker for your brand that people aren't going to throw away, 100% do it and hand it out. And it's a cheap way of spreading awareness of who you are. You can be more playful in a sticker than normally you would on a t-shirt or a sweatshirt. I wish I had one for you. I actually created a sticker. I can have a sweatshirt of it too, that has a Grateful Dead "Steal Your Face." Now I'm just combining some pop culture with my logo,
Yep.
and people really like it. That's why I don't have any left because I've handed out so many of them. They were one of those items that people are like, "Oh," and it's okay to take your logo sometimes and marry it with something that is pop culture that people enjoy and like. And it's also something I love Grateful Dead, so I'm always gonna veer into do something like that.
So the stickers, like, is that kind of the kind of thing you just kind of keep with you and hand out, when you're having interactions that are,
Yep.
like, what's the number of times that you'd hand out a business card versus hand out a sticker?
'Cause I don't have any business cards. I hand out stickers
I
because
love that answer.
yeah. I don't have a business card.
Yeah.
And the sticker is just something, it has my name on it. Most people have a phone that they can Google, NorChar Real
Yep.
Estate, find my website, I'm on there. But you're always gonna hold on to that sticker, and hopefully these stickers always end up in cool places as well, which would be a
Yeah.
bonus. When I find my sticker out in public, I'm like, "Ooh."
Like, how often do you create hybrids like that? And then when do those get handed out?
I that right there, that was the only one I've ever done.
Mhm.
I'm I hope no one reports me to any kind of licensing police because I do not own that. I do my own little riff on it. I keep it very local, and I think the people I hand out Grateful Dead stickers to aren't the kind of people who are like, "You shouldn't be using this because you don't own the license and you don't have the copyright," or, what have
It's an
you.
homage
It's
anyway
an
to
homage.
your
It's I'm a
favorites, you know?
huge fan,
Yeah.
as are you. No one's feelings are getting hurt. Hopefully, you think it in the spirit of the creation of the sticker was fun. Hopefully, the person I'm handing it to understands that. I'm not trying, and it's all free. These are all freebies. I certainly am not charging anyone for my stickers, so
All right. And where can people find you?
they can find me at, norchar.com on my, real estate website. Or you can go to Norchar's Instagram, which would be amazing because on our Instagram, you will see a lot of our merchandising on there. You will see us wearing our sweatshirts or t-shirts. You'll see us doing polar plunge and all the fun stuff.
Yes, definitely go to their Instagram and send one of their posts to a friend, because that really will help you out on the Instagram algorithm. All right, everyone, this has been /real estate. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions from all the stuff that we discussed, go down in the comment section and leave your questions. We read all of those, and we definitely try and bring those into next episodes. Also, a like and a subscribe never hurts. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.